I'm glad to see you all. So we're starting. Today's topic is complex, but not so complex that we can't understand it. We're going to slowly move forward together. That means that we need to understand how to treat each other, how to build relationships, how not to take offense, how to forgive, how to explain to a loved one so that they understand why relationships fade, why families break up, why one love ends and another begins. About that. A person has a subtle energy body. We all know that a person has a physical body. The physical body is what anatomy studies. There is also a subtle energy body that is not studied in anatomy. The interesting thing is that most people don't know about the existence of the subtle energy body. How this body is structured, how it works. When I think of myself, I don't think of myself as an arm or a leg. I think about my thoughts, my mood, my character, my relationship with others. Sometimes, of course, I think about my arm hurting. That means I start thinking about my physical body when it bothers me. But if it doesn't bother me, I don't think about it, right? Sometimes I also think about it when I need to make it beautiful, that is, when I need to dress up nicely. Then I think about it too. And so on. You understand? Basically, a person thinks of themselves as a subtle energy body. They're talking about their psyche. Some scientists believe that the subtle energy body is a consequence of the physical body. They say that the psyche is a second signaling system, which is a combination of nerve impulses. That's just a theory, and that theory is wrong because it's been completely disproven long ago. There are scientific works written by, for instance, Moody. He is a scientist, a professor, a doctor of sciences. He did cardiology, researched and worked with borderline conditions. What that means is that people went into a state where their heart stopped. It's called clinical death, and then they're brought back to life. During clinical death, the brain doesn't work, the heart doesn't work, the person doesn't breathe. There are situations where nothing functions for a period of time. During this time, they record everything that happens to people, all the sounds, all the words, who moves and how they move. Then they synchronize everything in time with what's happening to the person's heart and observe. The person relates that the moment this happened, they saw themselves from above. That means out of 100 people, 30 people described things like what one doctor did at a certain time, what another doctor did, what they talked about. And everything was documented, even though no one had ever talked to that person before. They just regained consciousness and only then began a conversation about what they'd seen and heard. Such a scientific experiment proving that Hindus invented a good religion where you don't die completely when you pass away. That means that there is a subtle energy body. It separates from the physical body, and the person can hear, see, and understand everything. And it's a more correct view of life because when I started studying the Vedas, I found out that everything is systematically organized. It turns out that there are functions of the mind. There are 3 components of the subtle energy body: the mind, the intelligence, and the self-esteem. Each component has its own functions. Because of them, men and women have their own peculiarities, how they work, and so on. Based on that, we can understand what's happening to us. What has happened to us? It's like the song, "What a Spring, What a Day, Why Did You Take Offense, Why Did We Break Up?" That's what we're going to figure out now. So, there is a subtle energy body, there is a physical body, and there is another body called the spiritual body or soul. The human soul is located in the heart area like a little spark. If we say "my soul," that phrase is incorrect because I am the soul. My hand, but I am the soul because the hand can die, but the soul doesn't die, and even the subtle energy body doesn't die. It maintains the form of the physical body that it lived in for a while because the subtle energy body fully provides the physical body with energy and all the necessary functionality. You understand? Why do nerve cells work? Why does a person have the strength to live? All of this comes from the subtle energy body into the physical body. You understand? Even the physical body develops in the image of the subtle energy body. When cells are laid down in the embryo, let's say, the neural tube is laid down all at once in several places. If you think about it, how is that possible if there's no blueprint? It means that if there's no blueprint, then everything has to grow from the bottom up, let's say, from head to toe. But when something is formed at the same time, it must somehow connect in a 3-dimensional space, you understand? It turns out that the Vedas explain that there is a blueprint, which means that there are these subtle energy channels called shrotas. It is through these channels that cells and tissues grow, and the person grows up exactly as intended. When you plant a seed, the subtle energy body unfolds in the same way. When the seed connects with the moisture, the soul enters there along with the subtle energy body, such as an apple tree. In other words, the soul with the subtle energy body of an apple tree enters the apple seed. The blueprint unfolds and then the apple tree grows according to that blueprint. That's why it grows apples, not oranges. You see, don't you, the same apples that are encoded in this seed. It means that the blueprint is unfolded first and then the whole structure is formed. There is a subtle energy body. There are two types of subtle energy channels in the subtle energy body. The first one is called the shrotas, which control the functioning of the entire body, and the second one is called the nadi, which are the subtle energy channels that are responsible for our mental functions. These subtle energy channels, the nadis, extend even beyond the body. This means that, for example, here in the heart area, these subtle energy channels can reach those with whom we are connected. For the sake of supreme and true love, we must remember that our loved ones are connected to us for life by an invisible thread. I always feel that there will be a thread between me and you. You understand? These invisible threads are described in the Vedas. It means that a person, let's say, falls in love with someone, and this thread is formed. In about a year, a very tight thread is formed between a man and a woman. This is called marriage. That means that marriage is not tied to registration. We think it all depends on the registration. No, it depends on the formation of that thread. That means that if a thread is formed, and if one person leaves, the other one can't live without them because they're connected to each other. There's a subtle energy flowing between them. That means if I'm in a good mood, they're also in a good mood. If they're in a bad mood, I'm in a bad mood too. In other words, people start to mentally interact with each other through these threads. It's a very strong bond. The same thing happens with the children, with the employer, but it's a different connection. It's not the same connection as with a loved one, like the song says, I want to be with you. Sometimes, of course, that's true. Most of the time, it's wrong. It means that these threads have different types of relationships. There are business relationships. There is also a connection. People feel each other. There are love relationships, family relationships, and friendly relationships. Friendly relationships are not business or love relationships, but the connections are there too. That's my friend, I'm worried about him. That means I'm connected to him. To worry means to give energy, to give strength. Let's move forward. The soul is located here, in the heart area. It has a mental structure around it that looks like a little sphere. It even has a name in Sanskrit, but there's no point in saying it. You won't remember it anyway. A sphere. And within that sphere, there's this energy that's constantly changing. We'll call it the person's mood. So the soul looks at this world through this sphere, and the mood is constantly changing. Today the mood is good, so the world is bright. Tomorrow it's bad, so the world is sad. This mood depends on this sphere, from which knots of fate come out. In other words, fate is this sphere, or the accumulation of memories of our past actions and desires. There is time. It's the energy that is constantly moving everything forward, so this sphere is influenced by time. As a result, some particles of fate are constantly arising within this space, and they immediately paint the whole space in their own color. And it's from this inner space that the threads go outwards. For example, the thread is colored with the color of my mood. Let's say I'm in a bad mood and a loved one starts to feel bad too because I've filled the connection between us with bad energy due to the way fate has impacted. They ask, what's wrong? And I don't even know what they want from me, which means I'm in a bad mood, but they might even realize it before I do. I seem to be doing fine, but they feel that there's something wrong with me. That means that fate has begun to act. Sometimes people don't even understand. Why did my husband leave me? I love him. But he doesn't feel that love because that's the way fate works. In other words, fate doesn't ask us what it's going to do to us. Therefore, there are different periods in life. Some people don't understand that. They think, I'm unlucky to be living like this. Why? Because there are different periods depending on what you did in past lives. A person lives forever. Depending on what you did in your past lives. At some periods of life, you're going to suffer. This can be seen by looking at a person. In principle, it is not difficult. If you study it just like a person plays the piano, they know the parts, the different notes, they just studied it. I also see and feel a person's fate. For example, one woman was surprised. How do you know it was like that? And I just study it and it's not difficult. In other words, if you study everything, you can then talk about it. There are some patterns that can help you understand everything that's going on. There's a subtle energy structure around this sphere, which is called fate. It surrounds it tightly, just like this. This subtle energy structure is called the sense of self. as a personality. And this subtle energy structure is mobile. For example, if someone speaks badly to me, this subtle energy structure can go down. I say, I feel bad, I feel humiliated. If, let's say, fate pressures me and I can't do anything in my life, I get put in jail or can't pay back a debt, then the self-esteem goes down and the person doesn't want to live. They don't want to think about tomorrow. That's called depression. If everything in a person's life is perfect, everything is great, then their self-esteem goes up and the person becomes blind. They think that all their life everything is going to be great and now it's only going to be good. That means that they don't understand that there is danger. In life it's called pride or blindness. Some people start making fuss at those moments when they think that today they will make every effort, suffer from it, but tomorrow it will be better. Self-esteem is moving forward. A person is fussy in life, they don't see. Happiness can only be seen when self-esteem is at the center. Shastai, you see even that Russian word. Shastai, tai means existence and shas means now. It means that one's self-esteem is centered. They endured all the trials, accepted fate. Fate acted, pressured them. They accepted it, didn't give up. Then they feel the happiness of living right now. Not tomorrow, not when I get out of humiliation, not when I get out of depression, not when I stop being proud of myself, but right now I feel normal. So remember, only the person who has accepted fate right now has understood everything. Only such a person is beautiful, lucky, happy, cheerful, intelligent. They can think clearly, can figure everything out, can understand everything, only when the heart is calm. Therefore, the first thing a person should strive for in life is calmness. What can help? There is another subtle energy structure called intelligence. The first one was a smart fellow, the middle one was so-so, the third one was a complete fool. It's not about being smart, it's about being intelligent, which means that this poem should be said differently. The first one was an intelligent fellow, the middle one was so-so, the third one was a complete fool. What does intelligent mean? Intelligent means to have a deep understanding of what's going on, to understand what's good and what's bad. Having the ability to force yourself to do something, having the inspiration to live properly, having the ability to change your mood for the better, having the ability to get rid of your bad habits. Possesses the ability to forgive, to accept, to ask for forgiveness. 51. That means that this is a person who is able to deal with their fate, because fate makes a person resentful, depressed, proud of themselves, angry. I don't understand what's going on, it's all fate. How does fate affect a person? Fate in the form of these particles of fate. When it enters this space, they make a sound. The soul reacts very strongly to that sound. It's sound energy, but it's not an ordinary sound, not a sound wave. It's such a very subtle, invisible sound that immediately captures a person's memory. This means that a person doesn't hear any sound of fate, they just immediately start thinking about something. For instance, sadness comes, like in the song, House stands, light is switched, view from the window is far, so the sorrows are from they are, and like, alive and well, and like, to live, not grieve, so the sorrow is from it is. That's how fate works. The time has come, and sadness has entered the heart. Does that mean you need to be sad? There are two types of people. Some live with whatever comes to their heart. Those are not intelligent people. Intelligent people don't allow themselves to be influenced by fate. Intelligence can defeat fate if a person has figured this out. Sadness has come, gloom has set in. Well, I'm going for a walk. Why do you need to go for a walk? To be nourished by the energy of nature, the energy of the Neverland that you love. And through love, nature, a person gets rid of sadness. In other words, fate is not like what some internet bloggers say. If it's time to buy an autumn coat, you might as well not buy it. You see, that's the wrong way of thinking. Fate is just a volume of work. What kind of work? Mental work, not physical one. For example, if you have a longing in your heart, it doesn't mean there's nothing you can do about it. There are methods and ways to make sure that there is no longing in your heart. If your husband leaves, it doesn't mean there's nothing you can do about it. There are methods and ways that can influence the situation, but not like, hey, come back. That's not a solution. What are some ways? We'll talk more about that. What are some ways that affect fate? Because who is a loved one? A loved one is the executor of your fate. It's not fate itself. They're just fulfilling fate. And if you defeated your fate, but suddenly a loved one doesn't want to come back to you, suddenly that can happen, but you've defeated your fate. It happens sometimes. Fate forces it on them. If you overcome fate, it will force them through their conscience. Come back. She's a normal woman. You're the one who's a fool. They'll have that feeling in their heart. But they say, I can't go back. I already have children here, a new family. At that moment, fate immediately gives this woman another man, because God has plenty of men. The main thing is to overcome your fate. As soon as fate is overcome, a new man immediately appears, but he won't be ideal either, because he is also representative of fate. At least you will have one. At least there's somebody, you won't be alone, and that's good. Therefore, there's intelligence. Let's figure out what functions the mind has. What is the mind?
Analytical thinking.
That's right, analytical thinking, the study of anything, our moods, our connections with people, our emotions, our character. Our inner characteristics are all within the mind, our health, our fate. Fate is also within the mind, everything is within the mind. That's the mental frame of a person. Everything that we have inside is the subtle energy body, or the body of mind, called manas in Sanskrit, which also means mind. What is intelligence? It's a mental attitude that helps you understand everything and make decisions. Let's say a computer has an operating manual that tells you what to do and how to do it. The computer doesn't work properly. It's thinking about what to do. A computer has a system of how to figure things out. That's intelligence. What other functions does intelligence have? Inspiration. Where does inspiration come from? From the source of happiness. It turns out that intelligence seeks happiness for the mind. Why does the mind need happiness? All the cells of the body are nourished by happiness. Our psyche is nourished by happiness. Our connections with other people are nourished by happiness. Our mood is nourished by happiness. The whole body, all the organs, the heart, the liver, everything is nourished by the energy of happiness. A person cannot live without happiness. A person needs happiness. Without happiness, everything falls apart. You can't sleep, there's no health, relationships fall apart, everything falls apart. The amount of happiness is in the human psyche, in the heart. From this little sphere inside, happiness is formed from the heart. Happiness is in the heart. People say, I have happiness in my heart. So happiness is formed in the heart, and when fate is bad, it extinguishes this natural formation of happiness in the heart, and so a person has to draw happiness from somewhere. So what is intelligence? Intelligence is a function that helps one find happiness. Where does a person derive happiness from? Naturally on the mental plane. Let's say a person has a purpose in life. What is the purpose of life? It's a function of intelligence. Why is it needed? In order for happiness to constantly flow in. For instance, a person builds a house. Happiness flows into him. He stops building. Happiness stops flowing in. He starts to worry. A child is born. Happiness flows in. That's it, happiness. You got a dog, happiness flows in. When you feel bad, you go to the dog. The dog is silly, doesn't know you've been fired from your job. It sees you and wags its tail, rejoices, and somehow feels better. At least someone in our family feels normal, right? That's how a person lives. Get someone, and that becomes their purpose in life. Someone who brings us happiness becomes the purpose of our life. Let's say a neighbor brings happiness, so they become the purpose of life. Wife is no longer the purpose of life. That's called a mistress. Or let's say the head of the factory gives happiness and then stops giving it, and you get disappointed with them. Why do we become disappointed in people? Because we become enamored first. Imagine I'm riding in a tram next to some person and I'm very disappointed in them. Why should I be disappointed in them? It doesn't matter to me whether they exist or not. I could only be disappointed in them if I believed in them first. You understand? That means that if you believed in something, then there's a reason to be disappointed. If you're not enamored, you're not going to be disappointed. So these are all functions of intelligence: becoming enamored, becoming disappointed, believing in something. What is inspiration? It's when you're moving towards your dream. That's what inspiration is. Moving doesn't mean moving your feet. You understand? It means the action of intelligence. That is, one is moving towards their dream. Let's analyze the functions of intelligence. We choose the path. It's a function of intelligence, choice. A person chooses one way or the other, what to do. If intelligence is weak, a person doesn't know what to do. Going towards your dream means to be purposeful. That is, to have a goal. And we should not turn away from the path anywhere. That's called determination. A person doesn't turn away, they go to do it. All these are functions of intelligence. So determination, purposefulness, inspiration. Inspiration means to feel happiness from the goal, and as a result you feel inspiration. Knowledge, you know for sure what can help you in life. Determination means you have life experience. You know that if you do this, you can help yourself. Determination has been awakened. Insight is a female function of intelligence. The feminine functions of intelligence include the sense of feeling purity, truth. A woman feels the truth. Insight, the feeling of where the truth is and where the lies are, is more developed in women. Determination is the ability to achieve goals. Strength of spirit. These are male functions of intelligence. The female functions of intelligence are insight, sense of truth, integrity, desire to make things right. It means that the female intelligence wants everything to be right, and the male intelligence wants everything to be the way a man sees it, not necessarily right. That means that a man relies on his experience to make decisions, while a woman relies on the experience of her elders, on instructions. Both are good. If a person has experience, they should rely on it. If there are instructions, one should know them too. Therefore, a woman learns how to live properly, and God forbid that a woman should believe someone else on how to live properly. As a result, all the instructions change. The husband doesn't know anything about it yet. She went to the lecture, listened, studied everything, and now we live differently because we lived wrong. But a man can't react that way because he's already experienced. He relies on his experience. So he says, listen, I don't care about your instructions. Let's live the way we lived. Does that sound familiar? Because intelligence works differently in men and women. How does a woman listen? She soaks it all up to figure it all out in detail because she doesn't make her own decisions. Her intelligence doesn't have the determination to make decisions, but she has a very strong ability to understand what's right. That means that if she has understood what's right, she wants it to be so, but it's her husband who makes the decision. Therefore, she pressures him, gets on his nerves, saying, we're going to live this way. He says, not like this. She says, no, we're going to live this way because it's the right thing to do. He says, I don't care if it's right or wrong. We're going to live our lives the way I see it, that's all. Why? Because he always bases everything on his experience. That's how male intelligence works. A woman doesn't base things on her experience. She bases them on instructions. She will do what's right, while a man bases things on his experience. That's why a little boy doesn't care about what's right. You tell him, do it this way, but he still does it the way he thinks it's right. If he gets hit on the head, that's when he gets knowledge. And he starts thinking about what to do next. You know, that's the way a little boy's psyche works because he's learning about the world. And he is such an independent thinking system because God created him that way. Any man is an independent thinking system. Let's say a man comes to a lecture for the first time. He has never heard my lectures before. Raise your hand. Are there any men like that? Specifically men. How do men like that listen to my lectures? They think, is he a fool or not? This happens during the first lecture. The most important thing is to figure out what kind of person he is. That's the most important thing. And then we'll deal with everything else. You understand? A woman comes to the first lecture. How many of you have never heard my lectures? You've come to me for the first time. How does a woman listen for the first time? She looks at me and thinks, is it for me or not? Do I like it or not? That's how she listens. She's not thinking, is he a fool or not? She doesn't care. Can you feel the difference? The difference is huge. Let's say a man has been listening to my lectures for a long time. Raise your hand, men who have been listening to my lectures for a long time. How do they perceive me? They listen to me and think, this part of the lecture I understand. This is something that needs to be figured out. This part of the lecture is interesting. I'm going to note that down. I completely agree with that. I totally agree with it. That's exactly what I'm going to tell my wife. It means that a man compares his knowledge with mine, even if he has listened to me long and carefully. It means that he is still comparing, evaluating. He is pointing out what is important to him. He has figured this out, but he doesn't have experience with it yet. That's why he can't accept it yet. He doesn't have that experience, but he has this one. But a woman doesn't listen that way. Please raise your hands, women who have been listening to me for a long time. If a woman has been listening to me for a long time, she doesn't know if it's right or wrong. She just sits and soaks up everything so that she can live like that later on. Is that right? Yes. You see, we're all different, and therefore we have different possibilities of communication, perception of the world. Let's study this. That means I've just explained to you how the intelligence of men and women works, and then there's also the mind. There's also self-esteem. It also differs between men and women. We're going to study all of that with you now, and then we'll talk about relationships based on that knowledge. So man's intelligence, its nature. A man is strong, determined, single-minded. It's very difficult to change the direction of his life. A man makes decisions based on his own experience, his own life. He finds it hard to trust other people. He checks, studies everything, and makes final decisions. If a man has made a decision, that's how he lives. After that, it's difficult for him to change anything. It's clear, isn't it? Woman's intelligence by nature strives for truth, for purity. It's sensitive to the truth, follows the instructions and rules, very strongly inclined to detail and completely understand everything. When the picture is complete, a woman is like a fish in water. A man is like a fish in water only when it comes to something he has deeply understood through his life experience. Therefore, a man always goes into something new, studies it, and then leads other people. A woman deeply understands what is known, and there she just sets things up the way they need to be. That's why in the society, mostly women take over the whole functioning of the society, social structure, while something new is developed mostly by men. For example, children's education, social connections, relationships, these are women's areas. That is, a woman has figured it all out, and she does everything as she understands it. She's already got the understanding, the instructions. But when it comes to pioneers, warfare, battles, overcoming fate and difficulties, men do all that. They act based on their experience. They don't rely on instructions. There are no instructions here. Do you understand? That's why a man should not say to a woman, make a decision. A woman doesn't have the determination to make decisions. She can tell you what is the right thing to do. She can help you understand how to make a decision. But if you force a woman to make a decision, it means that the burden of responsibility will fall on her. And it's very difficult for a woman to bear that burden of responsibility because she has a different nature. A woman was not born for responsibility, but for the enjoyment of life. She needs to experience happiness, to enjoy life, and to live in harmony and love with the world around her. And a man needs to overcome fate and difficulties, to take responsibility, to become a strong and respected person. I'm telling you about what man was born to do. So we've talked to you about intelligence, some kind of determination, firmness of spirit, sensitivity, purity, and the ability to systematize everything. These are different functions of male and female intelligence. There's also the mind. What is that? There are 3 kinds of energy in the mind that come from the soul. That means that I am the soul. The soul has 3 components of consciousness, or its energy. Consciousness is the energy of the soul. The 3 components of consciousness. The first component is the desire to live. Everyone wants to live. Nobody wants to die. The second component is love, the desire for love, happiness, harmony. The third component is knowledge, or overcoming difficulties, figuring it out, understanding it, overcoming it. The 3 components of soul energy. The first one is that everyone has a desire to live. Everyone wants to live, both men and women. It just manifests itself in different ways. A woman is willing to sacrifice herself for her children. A man is willing to sacrifice for his country, for his wife, and so on. In other words, everyone can sacrifice their life for something that they strongly love, what they believe in. Everyone has their own life principles, but everyone still wants to live. Only when a person goes mad, their psyche is broken, because the mind has this desire to live. But when a person goes mad, they no longer understand that they want to live. They still want to live, but they just don't realize it. So the desire to live is the same for men and women. Now about the desire for love. If the soul in the subtle energy body wants love in the next life, it hasn't yet been born. It's just floating in the air in the subtle energy body, wanting in the next life love, harmony, affection, care, attention. Then it's born in the female body. That means that the very desire for love enhances the energy of the subtle energy channel. This means that there are 3 main subtle energy channels. The first one runs along the spine in the middle, called Sushumna. It's filled with the desire to live. And a person's longevity depends on this energy channel. If a person practices asceticism, they want to overcome difficulties, then they will live long. If a person is basically a little bit weakened, whether there's a will or not, it's all the same. That means they won't live long. Because the desire to live depends on how much a person wants to live. The ability to live is embedded in the Sushumna. A person works on themselves. They go to work, don't sleep, don't slack off, overcome difficulties. That means they're going to live long. If a person is not interested in anything in life, that means they're not going to live long. Thus, the central energy channel is responsible for health and lifespan. There are 2 energy channels on the sides. One on the left side is responsible for love, and the second on the right side is responsible for a person's will and knowledge. When a person wants harmony, tenderness, love, then immediately this left-sided energy channel in the subtle energy body begins to strengthen greatly. And as a result, what kind of physical body begins to form? Gentle, tender, sensitive, caring, beautiful. For what purpose? To love. If the soul was born for love, for harmony, for family, for tenderness, for children, for attention, for care, for relationships, then the body is formed that way. What kind of body? The sensitive female body. Do you agree? It's a sensitive body. You can't wear anything. You can't eat anything. The body is sensitive. Men, do you hear that? Sensitive body. If you touch a woman roughly, how are you touching me? That means you can't just touch her carelessly. One should be careful the person is sensitive. What kind of body does a man have? Strong-willed, resilient, it immediately becomes like that. For example, when a mother spanks her little 3-year-old child, the first time he cries, the second time she spanks, he is silent. The third time she spanks, he is silent. Mom asks, "Doesn't it hurt you?" He says, "No." He got used to it. A man's body, the spanking no longer hurts him. Her hand hurts, but his bottom doesn't hurt because he has a male body. What to do with him now? He's already used to the spanking. Women, raise your hand if you've experienced this effect where the bottom becomes trained and doesn't hurt. The male body trains itself. It can tolerate cold, hunger, heat, pain, and so on. That's the way it's structured. That means that the male body is built for overcoming fate and difficulties, for patience, for endurance, for courage, and so on. The female body is built for tenderness, beauty, affection, attention, care, humility, modesty, and so on. There's a left energy channel that runs along the central one. It gives feminine energy to people, including men, and there's a right energy channel that gives masculine energies to people. Does a woman have masculine energies? Yes. The right energy channel in women on the right side is called Pingala Nadi. Nadi means channel, Pingala means masculine. The right energy channel in women is 3 times weaker than in men, and the left one is 3 times stronger. And the left side of the body is responsible for relationships, personal life, left eye, left ear. Everything on the left side is the female part of the body. The right side of the body is responsible for the masculine nature. If a woman tends to focus more on her personal life, family, care, affection, attention, and pays very little attention to work and business relationships, then she's developing properly. She becomes beautiful, her hormonal functions work normally, she feels good as a woman. That means she is in a good mood, and she has great opportunities to get married and influence people. Because if a woman acts like a man, she's not a powerful person. She's powerful if she acts like a woman. It can be compared to a crocodile. It can crawl on land, but it's not powerful there. On land, it can't fight anybody because it's weak there, but in the water, you can't do anything with it. In water, the crocodile is very strong. It can even take down an elephant, but if it's on land, the elephant easily defeats it. The crocodile bites one foot, but the elephant steps on its head with the other, and goodbye, crocodile. But in the water, it's impossible because the crocodile is very active there. The same is true for a woman if she starts a business lifestyle. If she thinks she's going to be very effective there, and if she doesn't have a personal life, that means that she's not in the water, then she doesn't have a chance to develop in the business life either, because she loses energy and gets tired. She needs a family to feel strong. If a man is actively engaged in business but doesn't have a wife, it's not a big deal. But if he's not engaged in business, doesn't have a job but has a wife, he still doesn't feel like a complete person. He has a family, children, but he doesn't have a job. Such a man is powerless. He doesn't develop as a person because he's out of his element, out of his natural environment. Now the question immediately arises, why do people tend to get out of their element? The reason lies in the unwillingness to live. Let me explain. For a woman, the most important and the most difficult thing in life is close relationships and family. If a woman doesn't put effort into that, she doesn't get the deep satisfaction of life, the great opportunities. However, it's easier for her to put effort into work. Why? Because that's not her area of primary responsibility. It's where she just has fun, relaxes. What does a woman do at work, in society? She takes a break from her primary responsibilities. What is the primary responsibility? Family. When she has 2 small children, she gets tired there. She says, "Listen, I want to go to work." She doesn't really want to work. She wants to take her mind off the fatigue that she feels when she's with her kids and her husband, because that's where she's spending her energy. She needs to fill up with those energies. The immediate question is whether or not she's right in thinking that she wants to go to work. Because if we're talking about replenishment, what does a woman fill with? She's filled with kind social relationships where there's no self-interest. If she comes to work and everyone keeps pushing her to do one thing or another, she's already exhausted at home, and now she's under pressure at work as well. If she attends an arts and crafts circle or something else, she dances, sings, knits, and feels good when she comes home. Or she goes to the cinema with her friends, but not to dance parties, of course. That means she's been spending time with her friends, learning to cook together. Or something like that, and she's happy because she's boosted her energy. If she's working hard at work, it doesn't mean she's boosted her energy there. There are business relationships that are alien to a woman's nature, and there are social relationships. That's why women just like what they like. If she naturally enjoys teaching children, she works in that field, but at the same time, she shouldn't feel overly pressured at work because she does as much as she likes. That's the way a woman's psyche works. If she's under pressure, she already feels bad about the job and changes it. For women, work is recreation, and if a woman can't overcome her fate, her personal life, she runs from there to work. That's what's called an emancipated woman. It means she doesn't want to deal with her personal life. Everything is broken down there. Everything is bad. She's afraid to even think about it, and she's rushing to work. Now, if a man can't cope with his work, if he has some kind of a breakdown there, if he's broken as a person, he sits at home, cooking something, doing laundry, cleaning. Is he in his element or not? Moreover, he interferes with his wife's life because it's her element. She's supposed to keep an eye on things there, but her husband interferes. And what's more, he prevents her from even functioning normally. Because when she's alone in the house, she can calmly sort everything out, tidy up. When her husband is at home, she has to think about him and fulfill his wishes. Therefore, it's better for a man not to always be at home. If the husband works from home, he should at least understand that he needs to stay in his office for some time during the day, so that the wife can have some quiet time to talk to her friends on the phone, sort out what's going on at home, feed the children, and relax. It means to fill the house with the energy of happiness, because it's the wife who fills it with the energy of happiness, not the husband. The husband uses that energy. If a wife feels that her husband is always sitting at home and always messing around, nagging everywhere, not letting her live normally, she becomes furious like a tigress. Why? Because a man doesn't know how a woman's psyche works. The woman needs to be allowed to dominate the house. It's not that a woman is a subhuman entity who doesn't need anything in life, who only needs to obey and submit. No, she has her own sphere of power, and a woman's sphere of power is children and order in the house. Also, her husband's body is her sphere of power. It belongs to her, not to some other woman. For instance, someone decided to touch her husband. His body is her property. Similarly, the children are under her authority. She takes care of them. The house or the flat where you live is under her authority. Do you think it's your authority? Okay, let's figure it out. Is the wallpaper with flags or flowers? With flowers, it means feminine energy. Is it a barracks bed or a softer one? A softer one means feminine energy. That's good. In the kitchen, are there columns standing up, or is it all nice? Flowers and butterflies. Flowers and butterflies are feminine energy. Everything you take in the flat is all feminine energy. Let's say you decided to do some tidying up. You did it, come back 2 days later and see that everything has been rearranged. Why? Because your wife is the boss there, not you. And the worst birthday present for your wife is to change the furnishings in the house. She thinks, damn, I've been creating this for 2 years. Now it's all changed. She's going to be upset. That's right, ladies, isn't it? That's right. The woman controls the family, the house, the atmosphere, the cleanliness, and the order in the family. She also controls what clothes everyone should wear. What does the man control? The man controls the work, the family development, the general life rules. That's how we live in a family. The woman controls interaction with the outside world, what's allowed and what's not allowed, where we go and where we don't go. She controls some of the fundamental life issues, the most important ones. Everything inside is under the control of the woman. So you've created the rules. Who will live by these rules? A woman. Where does a man live? He overcomes his fate. He lives at work. He overcomes difficulties. Where does the woman live? Inside a man's life. When the man comes home, the woman's life begins. She says, do this, do that. He says he is resting here. And that's also true, because a man works at work. And where does he rest? At home. Where does the woman work? At home. And where does she rest? At work. A man shouldn't force a woman. You have to work more. Why so little? She gives all her energy to the home. Will you cook, do laundry, clean, and take care of the children instead of her? She takes care of the relationship with all the relatives. She makes sure she has a good relationship with her mom and dad, with his mom and dad. That's the woman's responsibility, not the man's. She keeps an eye on all relationships. She notices when you have an argument with your friend. Talk to him, talk to him. She keeps an eye on your relationships with your friends, your own friends, you personally, and she keeps an eye on how you treat your factory manager, other people. If you don't treat them properly, she says to you, "Why are you talking to him like that? Everything is falling apart." He says, "It's none of your business. It's her business." She is keeping an eye on what's going on with the man, because the wife is the heart of her husband. Also, the wife keeps an eye on her husband's health, because the man's only being treated in intensive care. He doesn't feel sick at all. A woman feels sick all the time because she's very sensitive. That's why a woman has 3 stages of disease and a man has only 2. 3 stages of disease in a woman. The first stage, she is sick. The second stage, she is very sick. The third stage, she is a widow. Her husband is dead and she's still sick. There are 2 stages of disease in a man. The first stage is healthy, the second stage is dead. Do you understand the system? So the woman's duty is to monitor the period between healthy and death so that she can catch it in between. And it's a man's duty to encourage his wife and not think that he's unlucky to have such a sickly woman. All women are equally sensitive to disease. Now let's move on. We're figuring out how we're structured to talk about relationships next. Everything is different for a man and a woman. Let's say, when a man eats, what does he do? He fills up with energy to overcome challenges. That's why he doesn't eat, he fresses. He needs to eat much and abundantly. He needs food that gives him strength, the ability to overcome, to live. He says, "This is not food, give me food." Food to him means something that will give strength, that's all. So man is fressing, not eating. A woman doesn't eat either. She fills herself with the energy of love. Love only comes from what seems delicious to her. So what does she do? She doesn't eat, she tastes. And she always eats like that. If she tries something and finds it delicious, she'll eat more of it and take it away from her husband too, because he doesn't care. He's fressing anyway, and I need something tasty. Because I need to accumulate love. And what she tastes good, she eats from both her plate and her husband's. And she gives the rest to her husband because it's not tasty today. Yesterday it was tasty and today it's not. No one knows what she's going to eat today, not even herself. Because she tastes what tastes good to her, she eats. If you ask her, "What are you going to eat today?" she doesn't know, don't ask. How often does a woman eat? She eats often because she doesn't eat, she tastes. If she is in a bad mood, she eats immediately because she keeps her mood by eating. If you don't give her the opportunity to eat what she likes, she'll walk like a tigress. Remember, a woman's hormonal functions are supported by sweet foods. For a woman to be beautiful, she needs to eat sweets. Some women believe the theory that sweets ruin life and stop eating sweets. Who suffers? Husband? Because she starts nagging him, she's dissatisfied with everything. When should you eat sweets? In the morning and at lunch, just not in the evening? Or only sweet things that are not sweet, dried fruit, dates can be eaten in the evening, and honey. You can't eat cake and so on. Cake only at lunchtime. If she ate sweets in the evening, it means she lost her beauty, her health, and her husband. Because nobody wants an ugly and unhealthy woman. Got it, right? What is the strength of a woman? In beauty. What is the strength of a man? In the ability to overcome. A man is beautiful if he's able to overcome difficulties to win. A woman is beautiful if she's gentle, affectionate, attentive, caring. Beauty is necessary to keep the relationship alive. If a woman isn't beautiful, a man doesn't show his masculine beauty, there's no relationship. Let's move forward. Let's understand how different relationships are built. Let's say there is a relationship of love. What is love? It's very subtle, sensitive, delicate, playful. A gentle, unobtrusive energy. Love is energy. It's tender, affectionate, gentle, sensitive, unobtrusive, playful, kind. That's what love is. What is the basis of the relationship between husband and wife? Is it a business relationship? Is it friendly? No. A loving relationship immediately means only one thing. The relationship must be of that nature. Gentle, tender, playful, unobtrusive, kind, patient, able to forgive. Not imposing on each other, not pushing each other too hard, not trying to educate each other. Not pushing, just accepting, caring, joking, being affectionate, and not imposing. Then the energy of love flows strongly and well. You'll say, what if this, what if that? Well, remember, the relationship between husband and wife is very sensitive and vulnerable. So remember, if you rudely say something to your wife, she won't hear it anyway because she'll be shocked by your tone. Because the energy of love stops flowing in a man's rigid, intrusive, directive style. If a woman says something emotionally to her husband, she'll immediately be shocked because he can't process these emotions. And that's when the quarrel starts. Why? Because they broke the rules of loving relationships. Now let's talk about business relationships, relationships at work. What kind of relationships are these? It's relationships where there is distance, there are rules, there are responsibilities, there are seniors and juniors. There is stability, there is firmness, there are orders, there is subordination, there is punishment. If you confuse family relationships of love with business ones, then there'll be no family. That means that if you have orders, punishments, demands, firmness, categorical attitude in your family relationships, you'll destroy your family. Why? Because relationships between a man and a woman have a delicate, fragile, vulnerable nature. This nature is created by the energy of love, and the energy of love has feminine nature. Therefore, the relationship between husband and wife has a feminine nature. And business relationships have masculine nature. That's why it's difficult for a woman in these business relationships. Men dictate these relationships. They create business relationships. And in the family, the woman dictates the relationships. She creates relationships of tenderness, affection, and love, and a man should follow his wife's advice in these relationships. Every woman has her own nature and establishes her own relationships of tenderness, affection, love, and care. How to explain more effectively to a close person so they understand? First, accept them as a person. That means stop taking offense and being angry at your loved one. Until you do this, you will never be able to explain anything to them. Once you've calmed down and accepted your loved one, explain to them half-jokingly, as if it doesn't bother you much, then they will understand. But if you explain like, this is very precious to me, very important, that's enough for them to stop listening to you altogether. Because you will immediately put your loved one's psyche under pressure, as the relationship is very sensitive. And if you want more happiness, then you must know how to cleanse the threads between you. Let's say you feel you have a dislike for your wife, then you have to work on yourself and pray. Don't talk to your wife during this time. You have to work on yourself to stop feeling dislike for your wife. You need to help her, take care of her, do something kind for her, so that the dislike between you goes away, and only then can you talk. If there is a dislike and a person goes to talk to resolve this, what will happen? A quarrel. Why? Because dislike won't go away when you talk. It only goes away through care for each other. So there is an invisible thread between you, and you should clean it, just like a person should brush their teeth, and in this case everything will work out. Let's say you're offended by a loved one. Don't tell them anything. You should first overcome this offense. Do something good, pleasant for the person. Don't wait for them to do something nice for you, but do something nice yourself. And only then speak, because only then will their conscience awaken, and only then will they start asking for forgiveness when they feel guilty. And for them to feel guilty, they must feel you as a person. This feeling comes through the invisible thread. I'll give an example. We had a quarrel with my wife, and she got offended at me. I don't wait for her to stop being offended, because a woman's psyche is very rigid in relationships. A man has a rigid psyche in his business affairs. It's extremely difficult to change him in his affairs and habits, because his psyche is very rigid. It has been formed by years of life. A woman's psyche is rigid in relationships because it has been formed by years of life. A woman lives for relationships. Therefore, if a woman gets offended, it means she will be offended for a long time. And you won't wait until she stops being offended. There's no point in waiting. In order for love to grow stronger, you should approach your wife, and even if you don't feel guilty, say, "My dear, forgive me, I am guilty." What response do I get when I tell this to my wife? I tell her, "Forgive me, I am guilty." And this is like a game. Love relationship has the easy, unobtrusive nature of a game. And this game is not stupid. There is a deep meaning in it. I'll explain now. I tell her, "I'm guilty, forgive me." She doesn't feel that I asked for forgiveness, and I don't feel guilty. But I say, "Forgive me, I am guilty." She says, "In your lectures you say that when you ask for forgiveness you don't feel guilty. Therefore I don't forgive you." I say, "But this time I feel that I'm wrong, so please forgive me." This is a complete lie. I'm stating this right now during the lecture. Let her listen. This is a complete lie. At that time I definitely didn't feel guilty, but I told her, I feel guilty, so please forgive me. Why do I say this? Because in relationships of love, truth stands below love. Remember, if you put truth above love, your family will be destroyed. If you prove your truth, the family falls apart. All quarrels in the family arise only because a person puts truth in the family above love. Now you'll say, what? To live without truth? You'll find out soon, a bit later. So I say, I am wrong. She says, okay, I'll forgive you later. She can't do it right away. Her psyche is rigid. I say, okay, I wasn't really counting on immediate forgiveness. I left, came back in an hour and said just casually, so have you forgiven me? She looked and said, not yet. I asked, when will you forgive me? I can't live like this unforgiven. She smiled and said, tomorrow. I came back in an hour and said, please forgive me. She hugged me and said, I've forgiven you. Thank you for what I have. Why did she say thank you to me? Because I gave her love. Love is above relationships, above truth. And at that moment, when she forgave me, I immediately understood what I did wrong in relation to her. Why couldn't I understand right away? Because her truth is in the sphere of relationships. In this situation, she was just tired. It was hard for her to build a relationship. I didn't understand this, and therefore I pressured her. I should have understood, but since I didn't, when she forgave me, I immediately understood that it was hard for her that day. She was tired. Okay, no problem. My truth was also incomplete, because I knew my truth that she behaved wrong in our relationship was being capricious and so on. But I understood that she simply couldn't behave properly that day, and so on. I'm telling you that truth is always between people. But a woman will never understand a man's truth, because for her relationships are more important than all these laws, rules, and his quirks. If he doesn't value their relationship but values rules, laws, and I know what I want myself, or puts his dominance over his wife above love, then a woman will never accept this. A man will never accept that a woman constantly behaves emotionally. That means he tries to figure out problems with her. For example, are we going on vacation or not? And she feels that he's pressuring her when he says this. When a woman feels pressure, she doesn't want to live, let alone go on vacation. And she says, I'm not going anywhere with you. This doesn't mean she won't go on vacation. This means that you said it wrong. Is that right, ladies? Yes. So you need to come up and ask her very kindly and gently, are we going on vacation or not? And she will say, I don't know yet. That's how it is. You shouldn't blame her for this, because a woman isn't guided by knowledge. She is guided by feelings. She hasn't felt it yet. She needs to feel whether she will go on vacation or not. Why does she need to feel this? Because she needs to feel whether she will be happy on vacation or not. Now ask yourself, do you need an unhappy wife on vacation? If you don't, then wait a little bit, because if she feels that she wants to go on vacation, she will say so. But if you pressure her, she will never say it, because for her relationships are more important than actions, events, principles, and rules. That means that a woman is woven from relationships, therefore she considers who to go on vacation with or not to go at all. If the relationship is good, she says, I will go on vacation with you, meaning with you, not just on vacation. But if she says, I won't go, there is some reason. Even if she wants to go with him, she'll say, I want to go with you, but I can't because I'm sick. Or we have small children, or we don't have money or something else. She will have doubts because there is a reason. But she won't necessarily say, we won't go. She won't say it like that. She'll say, I don't know, maybe it's better not to go. But if she says, we won't go, it means she's talking about something else. This means she's saying, I don't love you when you behave like this because you're building our relationship wrong. Yes, if a woman says, I don't love you, it doesn't mean she doesn't love. It means she's in a bad mood today, that you acted badly towards her, you let her down somehow. This means it's happening with her right now, because in 2 hours she'll come up and tell you, I love you, and that will be true too. Is that right, ladies? When a man says, I don't love you, it means you are being punished. This is also not true. You shouldn't give too much importance to words in family life, because when love ends, people don't say anything at all. People always leave each other without words. You see, when people want to leave, they don't say anything. If they communicate, then nothing is happening. If a husband says, I fell in love with another woman, I'm leaving you, it means, I fell in love with another woman, I want to leave you, but I can't. That's why he's saying it. But if you perceive this differently, it means you're helping him leave. If it has come to this, then that's a different topic. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Today we continue studying how the very relationship between a man and a woman works, and how we confuse them. A woman comes to work and tells her boss, "Why don't you all love me here? How are you talking to me?" Why does she behave like this? She'll get fired. Now the question is, why does she behave like this at work? Because she needs personal relationships, but she doesn't have a family. So she confuses work with family. She comes to work, wants to be friends, loves everyone, and wants everyone to talk to her very gently and tenderly. When the boss tells her, "Stay longer and work more," she perceives it as if he really needs her, and therefore she's ready to do anything for him, and she starts working herself to death. Then he continues to tell her in the same way, "Stay again and again and again." Why does he exploit her? Because she treats him not as a boss, but as someone close to her. And then eventually she gets very offended and quits her job. Why? Because he's mistreating her and doesn't let her rest. And he's simply using what's available. If a woman isn't protected by personal relationships, she will always look for protection at work. But there is no protection there. There is only exploitation. But if a woman is protected by personal relationships, she goes to the boss and says, "I won't stay at work. I have children at home." And she says it kindly. And he responds, "Then we'll have to fire you." And she'll say, "Well, that's up to you." And she doesn't care, because her husband earns money, but she just works. And that's it. The boss thinks, "We won't fire her. We need such a person." And he stops bothering her because he knows that he won't get anything extra from her. Because she is protected by family. But if a woman isn't protected by family, she loses herself at work and becomes exhausted. And therefore, a woman who isn't protected by family has incorrect thinking. How does she behave? She seeks refuge in work, and therefore starts going through 4 stages there. First stage, she really wants to work, wants to develop there. Second stage, getting tired. Third stage, fed up with working there. Fourth stage, leaving. These stages don't exist for a married woman if she has the right attitude towards work. She works as much as she can. If the boss is okay with it, he keeps her. If not, goodbye, and she doesn't grieve either. If a woman is destined by fate to be fired from work, will it be harder to find the next job? No, women always find work easily because they're always very good at sweet talking. They have very strong social energy. They always present themselves very brightly. That's why they find work quickly. For a man, if he changes one job after another, it becomes harder and harder to find work with each change. Because work is his life and fate, and therefore it's extremely difficult for a man to develop in his activities. That's where his trap lies. Women sometimes can learn to earn money very quickly, but it's not their life. Why can she earn quickly? Because a woman is naturally a very influential person. She has a lot of influential power. She can prove, explain, show anything to anyone. She has a lot of human power. That means power that influences people. It's very difficult for a man to develop at work because he makes each step through effort, through wisdom, through his will, and so on. But when a man has developed at work, he becomes irreplaceable and very stable. When a woman has developed at work, it doesn't mean she's stable and irreplaceable. A woman can always easily leave work if family needs require it. Therefore, a woman's development itself has only indirect significance in society. A woman develops whether she works or not. Because that's the way her life is. As soon as children appear, no time to work. For a man, the more he develops, the greater the result. Are women needed at work? Yes, they are. There are specialties where a man can't cope. These are relationships with people, attracting clients, counting money. These are all women's specialties. A man can't do anything there. Therefore, women are still needed at work. But you have to treat them very carefully. Don't let them get overworked. Watch that they rest and feel like at home there. Then a woman will come to work and feel good. You can't overwork her, pressure her at work, force her to work more than she can. A man, on the contrary, the more he works, the stronger he develops as a person. So we are talking about relationships. I have told you overall and briefly the main details of what a relationship between husband and wife is. But these relationships are also influenced by things that people don't understand or know about at all. You should know that a relationship between husband and wife is strongly influenced by a person's ability to be healthy, cheerful, well-rested, and capable of building a relationship in this way. Because relationships themselves, love itself is built with the help of certain energy. This energy has 3 components. The first component of love energy is the energy of health. Just imagine, you love a person who is slippery and smelly, they're unhealthy and sick. And they say, listen, I love you so much. This needs some serious grounds, you understand? This means their mental and spiritual components are very strong. That means you can only love something. But what if a person has nothing? Their mental state is at zero. One is not developed spiritually and is also sick. You say, I love you so much, but what do you love about this person? You can only love energy. You love what gives you happiness. If nothing gives you happiness, where is love? The first component is health. Let's not take a person as an example, but a dog. And we'll take extremes. Just compare one with the other, and you'll understand something. You go to the market to buy a dog. You want a dog, you lack love. Which is also not quite right, but nevertheless it happens. Everyone initially wants to buy a purebred dog with medals. Wow. Something like that. Purebred. Maybe not big, but small and purebred. It doesn't matter. Everyone wants to buy a purebred dog. In other words, something nice to look at. Mostly everyone looks at the number of medals and pedigree, right? And now let's continue. You came to the market and saw a pedigree dog with lots of medals. But for some reason it's slippery and smelly. It's looking at you without much inspiration. And next to it there's a non-purebred dog for sale. It's so soft, fluffy, wagging its tail as soon as it sees you. It's so optimistic, joyful, and happy to see you, while the purebred one isn't. Which one will you buy? The joyful, optimistic, soft, fluffy one, right? There's a lot to love, isn't there? Is that right or not? Now, if you want to look into the depth of wisdom, you should know that a dog becomes soft, fluffy, and cheerful only from the energy of nature. If a dog is literally walked outside, where it can run around, frolic, chew on natural grass, rub against trees, this means the dog will be soft, fluffy, and cheerful. You understand? If it sits at home, no one lets it out. It has even atrophied the understanding that it needs to go outside. It becomes gloomy. Now I have a question for you. Is there a difference in this matter between a human and a dog? What do you think? There is no difference. If a person has a bad mood, they're not soft and fluffy, but rather they lack beauty. Men lack physical strength. Women lack beauty. This means that the person lacks the energy of nature. And in nature you shouldn't just lie belly up for beauty, but you need to move. You need to run in the forest, exercise and enjoy nature, and then this energy of nature enters the person, and the person becomes capable of conceiving children. 90% of infertility is due to lack of the energy of nature. Remember this, my dears. All people who are being treated by me for infertility should remember this. We make women run in fresh air, or at least on a treadmill, and then go out to the balcony to breathe. This is also normal, by the way, because it's difficult for women to run outside. There are dogs running, barking, angry people walking, and so on. She's simply afraid of the street. But if she runs on a treadmill, then goes out to the balcony, breathes, the result is exactly the same. She becomes soft, fluffy, beautiful, and capable of giving birth. Men often think, nothing's working out at the job. It's not that the job isn't working out. You simply don't have the energy of health, because when a man has the energy of health, his work ability increases, his mood improves. People often say, my husband has a bad character. It's not a bad character. He's just worn out. Just go and take him outside, his character will become good. Because a man doesn't know how to rest by himself, his adaptive abilities are poorly developed. A woman feels what's right and what's wrong, but a man rests as he can. When he comes from work, where will he rest? He'll sit in front of the TV and watch. That's it, that's his rest. Is there energy of nature coming from the TV? No, therefore a man doesn't recover in front of the TV. Well, 5 years pass, he rests in front of the TV, doesn't recover, and feels that it's hard living at home. Where will he go? To another woman. Because it's better to live there, that's all. Simple fatigue from work that a man can't relieve leads him to drinking, leads him to cigarettes, and leads him to another woman. Can you imagine how simple everything turns out to be? I'm telling you about a simple, small aspect that often completely destroys a family. He simply doesn't go jogging and doesn't take walks outside. This means they don't have the ability to enjoy each other, and it becomes difficult at home. And when you ask me questions tomorrow, I won't even listen to you. If you tell me my husband left me, I'll say that you don't have the energy of nature in your body, ladies. Someone asked about their husband. You don't have the energy of nature? You don't have a healthy lifestyle? You're exhausted, pale, miserable, nobody needs you. Everyone needs someone soft and fluffy. A woman's beauty depends on the energy of nature. there is physical beauty. It gives children. It gives a good intimate relationship. The physical beauty of a woman is visible from the outside specifically. Therefore, if a woman doesn't exercise, doesn't run in nature, her physical beauty, her youth gradually fades. On the other hand, a woman who is already older, if she does all this, she will accumulate this physical beauty. That means she becomes pleasant for everyone simply because she lives correctly. Menopause won't torture her, because menopause only tortures those women who are hypodynamic. Remember this. If a woman is active, she moves, she will never suffer from any of these health-related problems. Did you remember this topic or not? It's also important to know that we are atrophied in the variability of perceiving nature. Beauty fills a person. Let's say a person cannot run outside, but they exercise at home. They really love the sea or forest, and when they love it, they think about it and get filled with this power. You need nature's power for normal life. I repeat again, listing the functions. You can't talk to each other or approach each other, not because you're incompatible, but because you don't have the energy of nature. You have no strength. If you don't feel enjoyment from each other, it's not because you're incompatible or need another person. You have the wrong lifestyle. This is called a closed system destroys. What's a closed system? It's work, family, TV, work, family, TV. Energy doesn't go anywhere. Look, does a person get filled with energy at work or not? No, they spend energy. Does a woman get filled with energy with her husband and children? No, she spends energy there. Does a man get filled with energy with his wife and children? No, he spends energy on them, meaning we spend energy at work and we spend energy at home. Does TV fill a person with energy? No, it takes your energy. That's it. Where do people get filled with energy? Nowhere. So after living together for 5 years, then what? Goodbye, my love, and that's in the best case. Like in the song about saying goodbye and parting ways forever in January. Why? Because they're tired. Tired of each other. And you're so cold, like an iceberg in the ocean. The reason is lack of the energy of nature. The energy of nature gives a person the opportunity to be happy. Figure this out. We underestimate nature, actually. It is undervalued in modern society. Just look, I'll give you an example. Let's say you're not able to talk. Go outside, walk together in the park, feed the birds. Don't just walk around like mummies, but give love to someone there. Go for a run, do some exercises. When you go back, you'll be able to talk, you'll be in a good mood, life will be easier for you. Isn't that right? That's what you have to do. And if you also love nature, you'll be filled with it even faster because love means practice. The more often you go to the forest, the more you will love it. We've simply forgotten about the forest, but it's impossible not to love it because the forest is God's energy that gives people health and a good mood. Got it? Nature is God's energy that gives people health and a good mood. So where do you go to rest? To nature. And what happens there? Conception happens much faster than at home. Why? Because you get filled with the energy of nature, hormonal functions start working properly, and conception happens. Who feels calm now? That's because you were listening to the song. This means you're not indifferent to the sea. You haven't gotten lost in your television. If a song starts and you can't listen to it, then something's wrong with you. You have to do something about it. You understand? Otherwise, everything in life will fall apart. We need to learn to switch to filling ourselves with the energy of nature. People are basically set up to expend energy. That means we're giving away our energy at work, at home, everywhere. This is the wrong system of life because you need to force yourself to switch. Why don't people go outside? Why don't they take walks? Because the switch only works on giving out energy. You just need to die, but win, you understand? This is incorrect thinking. Did you hear that bell? It means it's time to switch already. You need to switch because sometimes it's just a bell, and sometimes it's already hemorrhoids showing up. That's already a warning bell. You need to switch. That means hemorrhoids appear from tension, not because your intestines want to see what's around. That's it. You have to force yourself, my dears. You say, we can't run outside. People in our city are mean. Fine, buy a treadmill, go to fitness classes with nice people. You know, people who do fitness are always cheerful. Turn off your phones, you're disturbing everybody. Everyone at fitness class is joyful. Every time I visited the gym, I saw treadmills and happy people there. You can meet people, communicate with them. Because all people who work on themselves, do sports, always have a good mood. They value their life. But if a person is narrow-minded, doesn't even have time to go for a run, do some bending exercises and everything else, it means they can't get filled up. They're depleted. Remember, 5, 6, 7 years of depleted life means goodbye intimate relationships. The first sign, you've lost your health, you have no energy. There will be no conversations because you have no energy, you're depleted, no relationships, you'll be sitting in different rooms, simply because you have no strength to communicate. This means that I'm looking for someone who has energy. Someone soft and fluffy. I don't need a slippery and smelly person anymore. I'm already tired of that. Do you understand the system? So what percentage of divorces happen due to fatigue? 5, 10, 15, 20? 50, my dear, 60. These are the numbers. It's not because he's a jerk, but simply because of a wrong lifestyle. They have become narrow-minded. At work, at home, and in front of the TV. That's it. This is the reason. So, I gave you a simple recipe. Try it. You'll see results right away. Not tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow, but today. If you go for a run in the forest, you'll come home happy and forgive each other. Now the next advice. Now I'm going to tell you about 3 energies of love. The first energy of love is the energy in which you feel good mood, cheerfulness, you joke, have fun, and experience a pleasant feeling from your close person's body. A pleasant feeling coming from a person, this is the energy of nature. Now what is the second energy? This is also divine energy. It is given to a person as family possibilities. Will there be love in a family if people can't find jobs? They simply don't even have the opportunity to accept each other, to go and get married. They don't have a high enough position in society. They have no friends and no relationships with this world. Where does all this come from? This is also power. This is power. For example, how can a woman get married? One woman asked me how to get married. Show me in practice. I'm fed up with philosophy. I say, it's very simple. You need to sweep some man off his feet and get married right away. But how to sweep him off his feet? For this, you need to be filled with the energy of beauty. And how to get filled with the energy of beauty? For this, you need to know that there are 2 types of beauty. All women try to fill themselves with one type of beauty, but nothing changes from this. This is outer beauty. It only causes lust in men. And what do men do when they see outer beauty? They drag a woman to bed, but not to the registry office. That's the difference, because there is another type of beauty. This type of beauty is unique, and it doesn't come from putting on lipstick. Such beauty comes from a woman who cares for everyone. She helps other people and gets distracted from herself, meaning she forgot about her dream. I want to get married. I want affection, love, attention, and care. This has been her dream since childhood. She forgot about this dream and started giving love, attention, affection, and care to everyone herself. She started doing what she herself lacks. The result? She received another type of beauty, a unique type of beauty that makes a man want to marry a woman. This is the beauty of the heart, or the ability to love people, take care of them. It is precisely this ability that increases a woman's hormonal functions, and the woman who loves people gets a baby. It's exactly these hormones that activate in a woman when she starts taking care of everyone. Who needs an uncaring mother? If she doesn't need anyone, why give her a child? Nature designed it this way. If a woman takes care of everyone, loves everyone, she becomes beautiful, and then she feels that she doesn't even need to get married anymore. This same woman asked me, she was very specific, when will I feel that I'm going to get married? I replied, you will feel that you will get married when you stop wanting to get married. At the moment when you feel that you're good as you are, everything is great, you love everyone, and everyone loves you, at this moment your heart will be at peace. And when it's at peace, it means you've become stronger than men, you've won this competition. This means that they will all look at you and won't be able to do anything with you. This means that you've become a very strong source of concern for everyone. This means marriage is coming soon. Many options will appear before you. Take your pick. Because it's not a problem to get married. The problem is finding a woman who has become stronger than fate. She has gained the ability to be such that everyone starts looking at her. That means it's simply a matter of strength, and that's all. Now you'll say, Dr. Torsunov, you're not saying anything about beauty? Outer beauty is necessary, that's a fact. Sometimes a woman is caring, gentle, attentive, but she lacks outer beauty. This is not a problem. Such a girl just needs to be introduced. In other words, men are a bit slow when it comes to finding a normal wife who won't drive them crazy. What do they see? They see outer beauty. And what is a woman's outer beauty? That is her egoism. Men, hear me out. If a woman is very beautiful, she knows about her beauty more than anyone else. And you will be paying a high price for this beauty. She will drive you crazy anyway. With what? With this very beauty. My words haven't changed anything. Men will still look at those who will drive them crazy. That's how nature works. Nothing can be done about it. I'm just telling you that there is another kind of beauty, and this kind of beauty isn't always noticeable to a man. He is mistaken, of course. When hormones are active, outer beauty attracts a person, but inner beauty makes them want to marry. It's necessary to have both types of beauty, but sometimes a woman has outer beauty, but if someone studies with her in the same class or works together with her, he notices that she lacks inner beauty. This becomes very noticeable with close enough communication. Then there are no chances here. A man won't marry her because only outer beauty doesn't give the possibility of getting married. Don't be beautiful, be happy. So you need inner beauty. This is exactly the main thing. Sometimes women leave their husbands. In this case, God immediately blocks the heart. It's a punishment. A family is created for women. Therefore, if a woman hasn't preserved the family and she left her husband, her heart is blocked and she won't get married. There will be many people around. They will all be interested in you, but no one will marry you because you need to make amends for a long time. Try to get this person back. If it's impossible, then God will give another one. It will not work if you leave someone and try to find a better one. There is no such path. If you abandon a person, you'll only find problems for yourself. Go back. If you can't return to him because he has another family, try to go through your path. Once you've gone through it, work off your bad karma. God will give another person. If you haven't gone through it, you'll be alone. But if a woman has inner beauty and lacks outer beauty, she will still get married. So the power of a person's ability to get a job or get married means to cultivate the energy of love for people. If you are a socially developed person and capable of loving people, then the possibility of getting married and working normally increases 1,000-fold. How does social development manifest in male and female bodies? Girls should be enrolled in rhythmic gymnastics, dancing, singing, drawing. Movement activities are better. Why? Because there she develops her ability. She shows herself to others and loves other people. She develops socially and she becomes strong in relationships with people. So getting married becomes easy for her. If she wants to, she gets married right away. Girls who sing, dance, draw, get married first because they have this ability to interact with people. Creative power is the foundation for a woman to be happy in life. This is her strength. A man's strength is lifting weights, but a woman's strength comes from art. She is able to influence people through dancing or singing. This is where the strength lies. My wife is a very artistic person. She did rhythmic gymnastics in childhood, became a master of sports. Then she started doing Indian dancing and Eastern singing. She sings and dances very beautifully. She is a very attractive personality in this regard. She visited you recently. Artistic abilities are feminine energy. A woman's ability to realize herself in creativity is very important. Women should take dance classes, do something they enjoy. A woman also rests and recovers very much from family matters through creativity, and it helps her much faster than some other things. Let's move on. What is the energy of a person's social power? What kind of love is this? What is this power that keeps people together? This is an opportunity to give oneself to society. This is the ability to see purity and deep beauty in each other. This is the ability to experience deep feelings for a loved one, you understand? This possibility is achieved by people distracting themselves from their family egoism and directing their psyche towards other people. This is ancient knowledge. It is said that if you have prepared food but haven't fed anyone, don't eat. This food won't bring you happiness. At least feed the birds or share a little with someone. If friends don't come to your house, then there's no happiness. If you can't do anything for anyone, can't plant lawns near the house, do something nice for neighbors, can't invite friends, this means that you won't have this energy of love in your house, the energy you bathe in, love each other, and experience happiness in life. Your children will grow up selfish because it's a natural tendency in the family. This is a tendency to become fixated on each other. This fixation on each other always leads to the destruction of the family. This is called increasing family egoism. A couple gets married and suddenly they visit their parents less, see their friends less, interact less with others, go out less, and just spend all their time with each other. Why? Because they become glued to one another, unable to separate. What does this lead to? Increased sensitivity, heightened emotional vulnerability, frequent arguments, and being overly hurt by each other. Eventually, the energy between them diminishes. Happiness disappears because they've drained each other completely. What can be done? There is a wonderful musical duo. I hope you know them because they're your people. This is the ensemble Divya Rosa from Chelyabinsk. They're known worldwide. You know them too, right? I hope so. They sing beautiful songs about love, relations. And it's not just our people who sing like this. This is a well-known topic. People don't realize that when they close themselves off from everyone else and focus solely on each other, a specific type of energy runs out. This energy is crucial for seeing the good in one another, compromising, doing something kind for each other, or forgiving. For example, she says, I can't forgive him. Invite friends over, cook something nice for them, and you'll forgive him immediately. You lack the energy to forgive. You ask, how can I forgive my partner? Break the constant cycle of thoughts about your partner. You're overly focused on one another, which makes you hypersensitive. Stop thinking only about each other. If you want to learn how to forgive and truly understand each other, you need more energy to do so. The main problem of modern society is this lack of energy. To forgive, you need friends. In the circle of friends, forgiving your loved one becomes easy. And if your family is surrounded by a group of friends and your partner decides to leave you, you won't even need to stress. You'll simply call your friends and say, he's leaving me. And they'll turn his life upside down. They'll call him at work, everywhere. Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? Who are you leaving exactly? And he'll go, well, I guess I'm not leaving anymore. That's it. Why? Because that's how the energy of social strength works. Now let me give you an extreme example of how this energy operates. There's this woman, 4 kids, no husband. I don't know exactly what happened in her situation, but she's not the kind of person you'd expect to be abandoned. She's highly socially developed, loves everyone, and cares for everyone. She comes up to me, and I ask her, do you work? She says, no. Why not? My kids are little. I'm staying home with them. Do your parents help you? No. Listen to this. She didn't approach me to ask for money. She asked, Dr. Torsunov, could you please help treat this person? I said, I don't personally treat people. We have a center with professionals who receive salaries. She replied, that's not a problem. Just tell me, can you help or not? I said, well, I think we can help in this case. Why are you asking? Will the person pay for themselves? She said, no, why? Money isn't a problem. I asked, how come? You don't work and you have 4 kids. She replied, Dr. Torsunov, I spend all day caring for others, and people take care of me. Money isn't an issue. Did you hear me or not? A couple of days later, she sent the money for the treatment. Why? Because that's just the kind of person she is. She has no problems, you see. She doesn't even think about money. She constantly cares for others, loves everyone, and in return, people always help her. She'll never go hungry, that's for sure. And more than that, she might already be remarried or will be soon. For a woman like her, it's only a matter of time. 4 kids, 10 kids, it doesn't matter. There are men out there who can't have children of their own and adore kids. For a man like that, 4 kids are a gift from heaven. Some men can't conceive children, but they adore kids. And here's a woman with 4 little ones. Perfect, just what he's been looking for. God has all kinds of men, let me repeat. Become strong as a woman. Please try to understand this idea. You need to redirect your mental focus. Stop obsessing over each other. If you keep eating each other emotionally, you'll eventually devour the relationship. If all you think about is how bad your personal life is and keep focusing only on each other, your family will fall apart. What should you do? Break that cycle. Start caring for others. Forget about the issues in your relationship for a while. Begin to help others, and you'll improve your relationship. Stop being self-centered, and you'll repair your relationship easily. Most families have a tendency to become closed off. But you need to open up. Call your parents, say something nice to them, constantly direct your energy toward others, parents, friends, and the world at large. Feed the birds, help your neighbors. If you help your neighbors, the energy of your entire building will start working in your favor. Building energy tends to lean toward destruction because everyone's focused only on themselves. Each person thinks only about their own little world, and if you live nearby, they often see you as a nuisance. But if you break through that energy, call your neighbors and say, do you want some pies? We have extras. Don't want to throw them away. They're really good. They'll say, sure, bring them over. Next time, they'll gladly accept because the pies were delicious. That's it. When you build a good relationship with your neighbors, everything will be great with them. Why? Because you shared love. Even the neighbor's dog will feel the difference. Dogs sense who is family and who is a stranger through the scent of love. If love is there, you're considered family. If there's no love, you're a stranger. That's why the dog won't pee on your mat or mark its territory there. If it senses you're a stranger, marking territory becomes natural for it. That's just how it works. Here's a way to assess your relationship. If you can't even have a simple conversation with each other, it means you lack the energy of love for others. If you don't have the strength to talk to each other, it means you're disconnected from nature. If you don't like each other's character, it's a sign that you're socially isolated. You've built a closed system with no connections to the outside world, no relationships with others. When you can't stand each other's character, it's because you don't have enough energy. And energy comes from friendship and connections with people. Start building friendships with everyone, and you'll find it easier to understand and accept each other. It's really simple. Let me give you an example from my own life. My wife and I had an argument. We invited some friends over, served some food and drinks, sang songs, and everyone left happy. Afterward, I looked at my wife and smiled. She smiled back. That was it. We reconciled. No discussions were needed. We simply invited friends, created a positive atmosphere, and shared our love with them. When I saw how she interacted with them, it made me happy. When she saw how I was engaging with them, it made her happy. In the end, we reconciled because we refilled our energy reserves. You understand? Here's another example. Once we had an argument and went to see our mentor. Of course, I thought I was right. I'm Dr. Torsunov after all. How could I possibly be wrong? We came to our mentor. My wife had her perspective, and I had mine. The mentor welcomed us warmly. I'm so glad to see you, and so on. I said, may I share my side of things? He agreed. I shared, and then my wife shared her side. After listening, he said, let's go to the table. My wife has cooked such a delicious meal for you. We've been waiting eagerly for your visit. We ate together. I kept waiting for him to weigh in on the matter, but he didn't say a word. After the meal, he simply said, we'll take care and have a safe journey. On our way home, we both felt recharged with love. I reflected, why did I cling to that trivial issue? Our relationship is what truly matters. This is my partner, someone with whom I've shared so much. I turned to her and said, you know what? I think I was wrong. Why could I suddenly admit that? Because the mentor gave me the strength to rise above my ego. Before, I simply didn't have the energy to do so. She responded, no, you weren't wrong. I asked, then why were you upset with me? She replied, because I was hurt. And that was it. We reconciled. Why did we reconcile? Because we gained strength from interacting with someone wiser than us. My dears, try to understand this. If you lack strength for years, never invite anyone, never show love to anyone, then nothing good will come of it. You will simply destroy your family and write in the registry office, incompatible personalities. It's not about incompatibility, you just don't have the energy to live a normal life. Now that you've come to this lecture, I'll give you a homework assignment. Who has come with their spouse to the lecture today? Are there any couples? Good. Now who came here after a fight? See, you've come together? That's excellent. Tomorrow you'll tell us whether you reconciled or not. You've been listening, sharing, and recharging your energy here. Tomorrow I'm 100% sure you'll say you've reconciled. And for those of you who didn't fight, just coming to this lecture has already helped you reconnect. Simply by stepping away from your daily family concerns and attending this lecture, you've already started to heal. This is how a person should live. You need to break the cycle of being fixated on each other. Now let's talk about another energy that sustains relationships but can also destroy them. This is the energy of God. In life, there are insurmountable obstacles. For example, doing physical exercise can bring joy to a relationship. A happy family is one filled with nature's energy. When people invite friends over, what kind of family is that? A soulful one. Good relationships emerge because we rejoice in each other's qualities, which are revealed through serving others. However, no matter how joyful and soulful your family may be, sometimes various obstacles may arise in life that prevent you from being together. For example, your parents don't give their blessing, do not approve of your marriage, or it can be some sort of immigration issue where a partner cannot obtain a visa or citizenship. Or maybe the husband is drafted into war. There are countless scenarios where people love each other but are unable to stay together. All these scenarios are essentially the same. They indicate a lack of divine energy. There's the energy of nature, which provides health, the energy of people, which nurtures relationships, and the energy of God, which helps overcome life's challenges. This divine energy is accessed through remembrance of God. To cultivate it, one must learn to pray, attend temples, and contribute actively within them. While working in a temple, are you thinking about yourself? No, you're thinking about the temple. This means you're overcoming fate. When you dedicate time to these actions, your life's difficulties retreat. When a person sees that this genuinely works, it's called faith. Faith isn't just about wearing a cross and claiming belief. It's about gaining experience. Start praying, engage in remembrance of God, serve Him, and visit holy places. Holy places exert a profound influence due to their sanctity. Consider infertility as an example. You exercise, eat right, and lead a healthy lifestyle, yet no children come. What does this mean? It means fate is obstructing you. Divine will is needed. Some holy places are particularly powerful because of the asceticism that holy people there performed for the good of others. These saints dedicated their spiritual power to breaking the chains of infertility. If you find such a place, visit it, serve in its temple, and the result may be conceiving. Do you think I'm making this up? Let me share a real story. I won't reveal names or specifics, but during a consultation, someone told a man and a woman that they weren't compatible. Their horoscopes indicated they couldn't conceive children together. He told them it was their fate and that they should separate. Yet they deeply loved each other. They lived together for some time, longing for children, but were told it wasn't possible according to fate. So they came to me, weeping bitterly. They wanted to stay together, but also wanted children. We're told to separate, they said. Children won't happen. We both want children, but fate won't allow it. I told them, fate doesn't work like that. It's not as if someone turns off the tap, and that's the end of it. Fate represents a volume of work, and sometimes that work can be overcome through prayer. Go to a holy place and pray to God there. They went to Jerusalem, prayed to God, stayed there for several months, and conceived a child there. The problem was resolved. But the story didn't end there. 3 years later, after having their first child, they wanted another one. But it didn't happen. They went back to the holy place, lived there again, prayed once more, and this time they had twins. 3 boys in total. Initially, they wanted just one boy, then another, and they ended up with 3. Later, they came to me for a consultation and said, Dr. Torsunov, we're afraid of having a 4th child. 3 kids are already enough for us. So now they have different sorts of problems, you understand? I've been giving lectures for 25 years, so I've seen many such cases that truly work. One just needs to learn to live correctly. Let's talk about your experiences. Has anyone here faced an insurmountable situation, prayed, and then, suddenly, it all broke through? Anyone? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You understand? Learn from these people. They've experienced how it works. Today we began to explore the topic of relationships. What did I begin with? I began by explaining how the human psyche works. Using this knowledge, I pointed out that the main problem is that people don't understand how the energy of love flows. As a result, they build relationships in a wrong and harsh manner. For instance, a woman often acts emotionally in a relationship, and the man starts being rude, cutting her off, behaving in a very harsh and closed-off manner. The man acts rigidly and demanding towards his wife. This leaves the woman paralyzed in the relationship, unable to love or build connections. What's the reason? A lack of understanding of how this energy works. For example, take electricity. It flows better through copper wires, but worse through tin ones. Similarly, the energy of love flows better through soft, gentle, and yielding relationships. The immediate question arises, how do I explain this to my fool husband? The first thing you need to understand is that family relationships are not meant for explanations. Well, they are to some extent, but that's not the main purpose of being together. Your partner didn't marry you to be lectured. They are with you to enjoy life with you, got it? So the explanation option doesn't work here. For example, before my wife and I got married, she used to listen to my lectures. But after we got married, when I tried to explain something to her, she would say, "Go explain this to your lecture attendees." I don't do it anymore. This was years ago. She'd tell me, "I'm not your listener, I'm your wife." The system stopped working. I can explain things to anyone, except my wife. Why? Because our relationship is different, so how can I help her change? A completely different principle applies here. You have to start doing it yourself. If you want your partner to understand something, don't try to change them. Start living in that way yourself, set an example, and then perhaps you can introduce it humorously or playfully. Suppose I decided to stop expressing my grievances to my wife, to endure, forgive, and care for her. Then I can joke with her. For instance, I say, "My dear, let's think together." We sit down to think, and I say, "Who in our family is always at fault, and who is never at fault?" She bursts into laughter. Why? Because I said it as a joke, without any resentment. in a kind way. This instantly places understanding in her heart. She might think, perhaps I'm being too critical of my husband. This is a simple way to deeply embed understanding into your partner's heart. If you follow a principle yourself, get used to it, and process your partner's shortcomings, there are certain stages of overcoming fate. Let's delve deeper. Why can't I explain anything to my partner? Why is it like a sword hanging over me? Why can I change anything anywhere except in my own family? Why is it so hard within my family? Why doesn't anything respond to adjustment? Why does everything only get worse when I try to change something? Why, after trying so hard to change things, did I end up ruining my family? What's the matter? The fact is, your close partner represents your fate. And fate is a punitive force. Imagine trying to make a prison guard kinder, so he becomes a nice person. Or a hangman. Does that seem like a reasonable idea? The prison guard's role is to punish you. Remember this. A loved one is someone who embodies your fate. They come into your life not only to bring you happiness, but also to challenge and test you. Whether you agree with this or not, fate doesn't care. So if you want to stop being tormented, that's possible too. But for that, you need to overcome your fate. In other words, you must go through a certain journey. The first stage is to accept your fate. This means if your husband is rude, accept it. If you want him to become gentle, accept it. What does it mean to accept? It doesn't mean you approve of his rudeness, but you need to understand it's your fate and view it philosophically. When he yells, step back a little so you don't have to listen too closely. In other words, find ways to coexist with this without harboring anger toward him. If he asks, are you even listening to me? Just nod, but don't actually listen. You already know what he'll say. He said it 100 times before. If you truly listen, your psyche will go off balance and you'll start arguing. You need to accept your partner. This is a slow process, but it's the path to changing them. The first stage is acceptance. To accept your partner, you need to jog in nature, do exercises, connect with friends, and go to the temple. You need to replenish your strength. Without strength, there's no acceptance. If you have enough strength, you can accept. You prayed and you forgave. Why did you forgive? Because you were replenished. Once you've accepted your partner, the next stage begins. How can you tell if you've accepted them? You'll find you can joke with them without pressure or tension about things you couldn't even mention before because it would lead to a fight. This means you've overcome about 30% of your fate. You've accepted them and can joke about it. This means that when you speak lightly about things, it will resonate deeply in their heart. In family relationships, knowledge is absorbed through love. Jokes are the energy of love. You might think that if your partner jokes with you, it means they don't take you seriously. No, on the contrary, it means they love you. If someone doesn't love you, they'll speak seriously instead. If you love your child deeply and they bring home a failing grade, how will you talk to them? With a smile. What did you get at school today? Right? But if you don't love them, strictly, what is this? It's immediately clear there's no love. But if you ask with a smile, show me your report card, it means you love them. Then gently and kindly you can say, all right, to the corner you go. Even discipline can be done kindly. For example, the child asks, Mom, can I go play outside? No, you can't. You're standing in the corner. If done as a joke kindly, they'll stand there. And because Mom is kind, the child will quickly repent, plead, and start to understand their mistake. But if anger is your way of solving things, nothing good will come of it. Why does anger arise in relationships? Because fate is a harsh thing. It strikes deeply in the heart. The words and actions of a loved one hurt far more than if a stranger did the same. Don't be surprised if your heart flares up with anger or deep offense. What should you do at that moment? It's hard to understand what to do, especially after an argument. You just need to know that it's inevitable because you were deeply hurt. But that doesn't mean it's the right way to live or build relationships. What are proper relationships? If you've argued, as soon as you realize it was wrong, as soon as you understand that fighting isn't the way to overcome fate or build relationships, go and apologize immediately. Whoever first realizes they were wrong, that arguing wasn't right, should go and apologize. Not about the content of the argument, but for the act of fighting itself. Say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I shouldn't have behaved that way. That is love. Love means being able to ask for forgiveness from your loved one. If you can't apologize, it means you don't truly love. Always apologize whether or not you were at fault. Once everything calms down, you can sort out the details later. It's best to establish a rule. Don't argue with your loved one. You won't prove anything, and you won't change anything. It's all pointless because fate will torment you anyway. You can't do anything about it. But if you accept fate, it will start treating you kindly. There's a song that goes, if fate doesn't act like a sister, fate isn't behaving like a sister. It acts harshly. What should you do? You need to distract yourself. Go help your friends, and you'll feel better. If fate is treating you poorly, fill yourself with energy. If things are bad with your husband, and you have no strength left to build the relationship or even live together, it means you lack the energy of nature, friends, or God. Go there, replenish yourself, and when you have the strength, ask your loved one for forgiveness. That's how life should be. Apologize, accept your loved one, and only then will they understand everything. The first stage of overcoming fate is accepting it. The second stage is interacting with it. Once you've accepted fate, what happens next? A connection will form between you and the other person. They will begin to justify themselves. Yes, it's good you apologize because I was right after all. That's fine, just nod along. Once they calm down, you can bring up your perspective. They will understand your truth as well 100%. You just need to say it jokingly, and he will understand everything. You can jokingly say, of course you were absolutely right, and I thought it was like this, which was clearly wrong, even though you still think you were right. As a result, they will understand because you said it kindly. Did you hear me? Your joke will go straight to their heart. To the extent they can understand, they will understand, undoubtedly. How should you apologize? Half jokingly, kindly, gently, softly, forgetting your own sense of being right. Your truth will remain with you 100%. You will definitely get your due when your loved one feels grateful for your apology. That's how it all works. Now listen to me carefully. Most people don't apologize because they think only fools apologize. Now listen carefully, this is just an illusion. Because when you apologize, you are 100% wiser. The person to whom you apologize will also understand this. The key is to apologize without humiliating yourself, and we will discuss this topic tomorrow. If a person is humiliated and apologizes, it means they are foolish. But if a self-sufficient person apologizes, it means they are wise. A person who apologizes always wins, never loses. Remember this, it's very important to know. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.